Republican lawmakers want the FBI to treat Antifa for what they are, domestic terrorists. Incidents like what happened in Portland, Oregon last month has Congressman Jim Banks of Indiana now calling for FBI Director Christopher Wray to take action. He writes in part, quote, "As a veteran of the war in Afghanistan, I'm intimately familiar with the tactics of terrorist groups and how they employ fear and violence to silence their political enemies. To my great surprise, we are witnessing similar style tactics right here in our country." Joining us tonight, the man who wrote that letter, Congressman Jim Banks of Indiana, a member of the House Armed Services Committee. And Congressman, it's good to have you with us. What is your instinct? Are we going to see Antifa designated a terrorist organization?
I hope so, Lou. If they look like terrorists, dress like terrorists, use the same tactics that terrorists use, then we should treat them like terrorists. I'm calling on the FBI to do something that is very simple, that's actually unbelievable that they haven't done already, and that's to add Antifa to the domestic extremist ideology list and to create a new subsection for anti-First Amendment extremism, which would include Antifa as well. This is simple. It's unbelievable they haven't done that already, but this would draw more scrutiny and attention to who Antifa is and allow the FBI to further investigate and root them out of society altogether.
Now, when you said First Amendment, you're not talking about their right to expression.
Not at all. In fact, it's the opposite, Lou. What Antifa does is they stifle freedom of speech. They stifle the freedom of the press.
They beat the hell out of people trying to speak, right?
That's right. Andy Ngo was on Capitol Hill last week. I visited with him. I've been in touch with him since. He's a case in point of what Antifa is capable of. We need to treat Antifa like what they are, which is a domestic terrorist ideology group. And so far, the FBI has failed to do that, but I'm calling on them to create a simple subsection of a list on their website that would include Antifa and address them as such.
Well, can't the President of the United States, first let's take what President Trump has tweeted on this. He tweeted this: "Consideration has been given to declaring Antifa the gutless radical left whack jobs who go around hitting only non-fighters, people over the heads with baseball bats. A major organization of terror, along with MS-13 and others, would make it easier for police to do their job." Can the President order the Justice Department to simply do this?
Well, he certainly can. I'm sure that he's waiting for his FBI leadership to simply do this on their own. That's what I'm calling on them to do with my letter. Hopefully, we will get their attention. We sent the letter yesterday. The president has rightly
identified this threat. If you get their attention, Congressman, I promise you will be the first to have ever done so. I have seen more letters written in the past 3 years with this president in office that were ignored by a group of absolutely, as we now know, politically corrupt leaders in the Justice Department and the FBI. And I see, frankly, not much daylight between Christopher Wray, James Comey, Robert Mueller, and the entire bunch of bureaucrats, to be kind, who have led the FBI.
That's what I'm trying to do, Lou, is call attention to this. I believe that we will get their attention because the president is rightly drawing a great deal of attention to Antifa, their tactics. What Andy Ngo went through was unbelievable, and so far the FBI, the authorities in this country haven't done enough to address the threat of Antifa. We're calling on them to do the right thing and do just that.
And the president, in dealing with this issue, he correctly, I believe, included MS-13. It's staggering to me that MS-13 has not been designated as such as well. Would you agree with that as in addition to Antifa?
There's no question about it, Lou. The hypocrisy of all of this is stunning. If Antifa or MS-13 were pro-Trump organizations, it's all we would hear about on the left-wing media, and something would be done about it. But because these are left-wing ideological groups who employ violent tactics, you have yet to hear a single Democrat official, a single left-wing official in this country call out Antifa for what it is. That's why I'm the first one sitting here to do just that, and will continue to do so, to call on the FBI to do the right thing to add them to their domestic extremist ideology list.
Congressman Jim Banks, great to have you with us, and thank you for all you're doing. Appreciate it.